Well, a very good evening and thank you to all of you joining us for our latest Monday Night Speedway broadcast. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend, and as we keep saying, more and more options are now becoming available to us. We've obviously seen a lot more shops open over the past week or so, and I'm sure the return of football will have given many of you a big boost as well. Unfortunately, still no Speedway racing return at the moment, but we continue to keep our fingers crossed. In the meantime, we continue to do plenty virtually and via the good old use of modern technology. And like I say, we have got our latest Monday Night Speedway broadcast coming up for you in a few moments' time. First of all, as ever, official British Speedway website, a reminder of that, speedwaygb.co.uk. Plenty of clubs still showing old reruns of meetings from years gone by, and an up-to-date list is posted on there regularly when we are informed of plans by each individual club. And of course, the latest for all the latest Speedway news, and a good archive section on there for you to browse through as well. Our social media channels on Twitter at SpeedwayGB, give us a follow on there. On Facebook, search SpeedwayGB and like the page. Follow us on Instagram at Official British Speedway, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, search Speedway Great Britain. And as we've said, once you are subscribed, if you keep your eye out for the bell notification symbol on there, click that and you should be notified whenever we do make a new upload. Plenty on there, plenty of old race clips and old interviews for you to enjoy as well. Back to tonight's Monday Night Speedway broadcast, and of course, right now, the air horn should be blasting. We should be waving our British flags with pride at the National Speedway Stadium in Manchester. But unfortunately, we can't do that, so we're reliving a classic British final on tonight's Monday Night Speedway broadcast. And we are heading back to 2016 to the National Speedway Stadium in Manchester, the first at the home of the Bellevue Aces, the brand new stylish home after 6 successive years at Wolverhampton's Monmouth Green Stadium. And there was a lot of anticipation in the build-up to the event, a lot of buzz, and obviously with no Ty Woofenden in this meeting, it was a big opportunity for someone to claim the title after he'd won it 3 years on the spin, as I say. And obviously they would have the honour forever of being the first British final winner at the new National Speedway Stadium. So let's remind you of the lineup for that 2016 British final. At number 1, it was Josh Bates with Steve Worrell at number 2. Craig Cook went at 3 with Danny King at number 4. Josh Hawty was at 5 with Simon Stead at number 6. Ben Barker went at 7 with Richard Lawson at number 8. Scott Nichols went at number 9 with Paul Stark at number 10. Richard Hall was at number 11, and at number 12 it was Robert Lambert. At number 13 it was Chris Harris with Richie Worrell at number 14. And at number 15 it was Jason Garrity with Kyle Howarth at number 16. The 2-track reserves, 17 was Charles Wright and number 18 was Lewis Kerr. So as you would expect, a thrilling lineup. Hard to pick a winner in the build-up to this one as well, with the form some of the boys were showing. But we are about to relive all the races from that first ever British final at the National Speedway Stadium. So let's head to Manchester and trackside for heat number 1, and let's go racing.
So riders on track for Heat 1 at the National Speedway Stadium. The British final moves to Bellevue after the last 6 years at Wolverhampton. Pretty much an open playing field, level playing field for all 16 riders. Obviously some home riders in the meeting who have had 3 Elite League matches and practice facilities too, but with so much rain during the day, again a big leveler here. The track is dry on top. We expect it to be grippy. We don't want any more rain during the evening, that's for sure, but should provide some fast racing as the night goes on. And with the defending champion not defending his championship, Ty Woofenden, will it be Scott Nichols for a 7th time, Chris Harris for a 4th time, or somebody new? Well, the favourite, the bookie's favourite, is Craig Cook, the man in the white helmet colour off gate 3. Scored 15 points here for Bellevue in their last home meeting. He's been piling up points in Elite and Premier Leagues of late. Runner-up in the last 2 seasons. He will fancy his chances going in white in Heat 1. Next to him in blue off gate 2 is Steve Worrell, one of the most prolific reserves so far this season. It's Josh Bates in red off the inside. It's Danny King, who finished 3rd last year in yellow and black off the outside. Mick Bates is the referee, and here we go with the 2016 British final. A flying start by Steve Worrell there from gate 2. Outgating Craig Cook. Cook goes to the back as King goes round the outside. Bates in second. It's Steve Worrell out out in front of Josh Bates. Danny King in third, and a shock early on with Craig Cook out the back. They come off the fourth bend, and Worrell out there in front. Dark horse here tonight. Josh Bates in second place, Danny King in third, and so far there's no way through for Craig Cook, who could not get anywhere off gate 3. He's trying the inside run. Steve Worrell really stretching it. King putting a challenge on Bates plate. Start the third line, getting really tight for second, third and fourth. It's still Worrell way out in front. King trying to move inside his commentary teammate Josh Bates, but Bates still maintains that second. Now Cook is tailed off. King trying to blast through the second spot. They start the last lap now with Worrell way out in front. King goes through in second. Bates will try back around the outside, neck and neck for second and third. Craig Cook out the back, and Danny King and Josh Bates still wheel to wheel. King goes inside Bates for the second. It's a very impressive win for Steve Worrell. In second place for Danny King, third Josh Bates, and a completely filled in Craig Cook at the back. The pre-meeting favourite runs are last in Heat 1. That's not always fatal to your hopes of winning the British final, because of course you only need to be top 6 after 20 heats to make it into the semi, but that's a huge setback for Craig Cook in the opening race. A battling second for Danny King over Josh Bates, an emphatic win in blue for Steve Worrell, who wins the opener here at Bellevue. Heat number 2 then, Josh Orty riding in red, Ben Barker in blue, Simon Stead in white, and Richard Lawson goes in yellow and black. Lawson, one of several late arrivals here at the National Speedway Stadium tonight. Lots of traffic chaos around Manchester and the surrounding areas. Several riders not arriving until half an hour or so before the start time, but they are all here. Lawson going in yellow and black, the Glasgow and Lakeside Hammersman. Simon Stead in white, not an Elite League rider this season, but certainly piling up points with Sheffield in the Premier League as ever. Riding in blue is Ben Barker, who of course has recently switched his Premier League club from Glasgow to Ipswich, and Josh Orty on the inside, who rides of course for Leicester in the Elite League and Scunthorpe in the Premier League. Steve Worrell equaling the track record in Heat 1. Many people expected track record pace for the leader in the opening race. Despite all the rain, the track in very good condition, certainly if you get out in front, and we saw a good battle also between Danny King and Josh Bates for second place. So here we go with Heat 2. It's Orty, Barker, Stead and Lawson. Green light comes on, bit of edging there by Simon Stead, doesn't really help him navigate the race. Takes Barker wide, Orty with the advantage. Stead trying to go around the outside, but Josh Orty out in front at this stage into event 3. Simon Stead in second place, Barker in third over Lawson. Josh Orty making a nice start from the inside gate. He race leads from chasing hard in second. Barker battling in third, really tightening up here at the front as Josh Orty continues to race lead. Has been rather short on race wins so far this season, especially in the Premier with Scunthorpe, but he's stretching clear now onto his third lap. Being challenged by Lawson in the battle of the third. Lawson's got a line here around the outside to go round Barker up the back straight into event 3. Might make it round there and does go through into third place. Barker has actually come to a halt up on bench 3 and 4, so trouble for Ben Barker. Twice. Josh Orty, perhaps the surprise man out in front here, and he has control over Simon Stead round turns 3 and 4 for the final time, and it's Josh Orty to take the checkered flag and win Heat 2. Josh Orty over Simon Stead, and Richard Lawson coming through into third place, making his move around the outside on the third lap there. Ben Barker coming to a halt shortly after, so no points for him, but a big start there for Josh Orty. Not having the best of times with Scunthorpe or indeed Leicester in the last few weeks, but a good confidence boosting start to the meeting for him. Made the most of gate 1, got to the first bend first from the inside, and Josh Orty the winner of Heat 2 over Simon Stead. Heat 3 then, it's Paul Stark going in red, Richard Hall in blue, Scott Nicholls in white, and Robert Lambert going in yellow and black. So two of the more fancied contenders here in white and yellow, but watch out for Paul Stark off the inside. Has been riding superbly with Leicester and Somerset so far this season. Richard Hall short on racing in recent weeks after losing his team place at Sheffield in mid-May, just before he qualified for the British final. In fact, that was certainly a message sent out there when he got through at Scunthorpe. Scott Nicholls, the 7 times British champion, has not had too much joy in the last couple of years in this meeting. Hasn't made the final in the last 2 seasons, in fact. And he, of course, does have the Bellevue track knowledge, should that play any part tonight. We've seen Steve Worrell win his first ride, but Craig Cook come in at the back. And Robert Lambert, one of the massive hopes for the future as far as Great Britain are concerned, involved in the World Under-21 final this weekend. The first round of that at Kings Lynn, his home track, and also scoring well for Newcastle in the Premier League. A lot of people interested in how Lambert gets on here in his first British final here this evening. But white and yellow, Nicholls and Lambert off the outside gate. It's Paul Stark on the inside, and away they go. And Lambert comes chopping across, and that goes into Hall, which takes Nicholls down, and the referee will put the red lights on. And that incident was triggered by the fact that Lambert came charging across from the outside, had light contact with Hall, which forced Nicholls to the ground, and the Bellevue captain is straight to his feet. I'm sure the referee there will put all 4 back in, but it was a very determined move by Robert Lambert coming off gate 4. Knew he was desperate to get to that first bend in front of Paul Stark, who had dropped off well on the inside. Lambert came careering across, and as I say, he just clipped Hall, which forced Nicholls to also clip Hall just behind. Nicholls is walking in and away. Looks like he has given his possibly his wrist some kind of a knock, but he is walking in, just checking up there with Hall, who was completely blameless. If there was a trigger to that incident, it came from Robert Lambert, but I would have thought the referee there will put all 4 back in. Lambert charging across from the outside, and the referee has confirmed it will be all 4 back for the restart. Back round for the rerun of Heat 3. Paul Stark, Richard Hall, Scott Nicholls and Robert Lambert. So no ill effects as far as riders are concerned after that tangle into the first bend, but Robert Lambert certainly stating his intent very clearly with the start he made. I mentioned it's going to be hard for the riders off the outside gates early on, and that's been proved in the opening couple of races here. And Paul Stark is sat in a decent position there, I would say, off the inside at this stage, but Lambert nearly made it without making contact with anyone, but then that really triggered a chain reaction behind him, and the referee having to stop that one. Scott Nicholls is okay and back to ride in white. As I say, 7 times champion, but they've all had to follow Ty Woofenden as such in the last 3 years. So Scott Nicholls, 2012, his last British title success. Here we go with the restart of Heat 3, and where they go, and this time Lambert's not made the gate. Nicholls and Hall with Stark makes the gate. Lambert switching back for the inside, Nicholls going there too, and that was really tight on bends 1 and 2, and Paul Stark has ridden superbly to get himself up front with Lambert after a poor start in second. Nicholls had contact with Hall early on, and Lambert closing up on turns 1 and 2, and it's Paul Stark out in front. Stark from Lambert, Nicholls third, Hall at the back, and does Scott Nicholls here have the pace to gain ground back on the 18-year-old Robert Lambert? They come through to start the third. Lambert impressive going to be tight on that first turn. Nicholls and Hall off gates 2 and 3 made some contact. Lambert didn't make it, but switched back sweetly as the other 2 inside him had contact. But Paul Stark was there out in front, and the Leicester and Somerset Mountain leads tearing up this Heat 3 ahead of Robert Lambert. Scott Nicholls in third place. So a couple of the established Bellevue big hitters dropping points early on in the meeting, both times from gate 3. It's a fabulous ride by Paul Stark to win it. Second place Robert Lambert, third Scott Nicholls, and the back Richard Hall. And Paul Stark making a great job there of Heat 3. Lambert that time didn't make the start from the outside, but did switch back cleverly after Nicholls and Hall had some contact going into the bend. Lambert still managed to squeeze his way through. Almost played a challenge on Stark on that first lap, but then Paul Stark had the pace and pulled clear and took 3 points ahead of Robert Lambert, with Scott Nicholls in third place. Heat 4 then, it's Jason Garrity riding in red, Richie Worrell goes in blue, Kyle Howarth in white, and the 3-time champion Chris Harris goes in yellow and black. A lot of people talking about Jason Garrity here this evening. Of course, came close at Wolverhampton last year, made it straight through to the final, only to crash out in that race, and has been in very good form indeed. Maximums for Sheffield in their last 2 home matches, some improving fortunes in the Elite League, and some good rides here around this circuit when Coventry visited at the end of May. So Garrity off the inside gate will feel confident here. Richie Worrell in blue in gate 2, a renowned fast starter Kyle Howarth in white off gate 3, and Chris Harris has seen already two of his main rivals, Craig Cook and Scott Nicholls, drop major points in their opening rides. But Harris himself won't have the easiest of jobs here off the outside in yellow and black. So the early predictions that this is going to be one of the most open British finals in many, many years could well be coming true at the start of the meeting, because you wouldn't have put too much money on the opening three winners here being Steve Worrell, Josh Orty and Paul Stark. But that's the situation with the riders at tapes. For Heat 4, definite movement there by Jason Garrity off the inside. The red lights are straight on from referee Mick Bates. Garrity with what has to be construed there as a flying start. He was moving well before the tapes went up, and there's actually no need, because on the inside gate, from what we've seen so far, he has what would appear to be an advantageous situation, and the last thing he wants to do is go into the tapes from the inside and wreck his night right from the start. So we'll be all fall back, but I wouldn't be at all surprised to see the referee Start Marshal having a quiet word with Mr. Garrity before the rerun of Heat 4. So they come back round for the restart, and Jason Garrity did receive an official warning from the referee, which seems something of a waste really in the situation he's in off the inside gate. If you're going to try and go for a flying start, then I think you want to be doing it when you're off the outside. Number one, there's more chance of the referee missing it, especially if you're off gate 4, but when you're on the advantageous gate early on, that puts him under pressure not to move later in the meeting, otherwise he will run the risk of disqualification. So Garrity in red off the inside for Coventry and Sheffield. Richie Worrell next to him in gate number 2, Bellevue, and the Glasgow Tigers. Kyle Howarth from Wolverhampton this year, and also Sheffield Premier League in white off gate 3, and Chris Harris goes in yellow and black off the outside, the captain of the Coventry Bees. So back into line for the restart then of heat number 4, green light away they go, look together, very sharp on it by Garrity. Garrity with the advantage, Harris getting squeezed out, and it's tight off bend 2 with Worrell going round the outside, Howarth up the inside, Harris from the back. Howarth really gets chopped off there by Richie Worrell, which might bring Harris back into play, but it's the lead being held by Jason Garrity. Really throwing a challenge in on turns 1 and 2. Garrity holds him at bay, but Worrell has plenty of pace in second place, and there's not so much pace about Kyle Howarth or indeed Chris Harris at the back in this heat number 4, so the upset set to continue. Definitely the inside gate of the early on. Off gates 3 and 4 really have struggled to make a massive impact. We saw Lambert work his way through to second place, we saw Danny King get a second as well, but really gates 3 and 4 have not done the job at all tonight. Chris Harris out the back and looking down at the bike. Garrity third place is still with Kyle Howarth. There's nothing that Chris Harris can do. So all of the main contenders here, certainly as far as the bookies would have you believe, have all dropped major points in their opening rides. It's a win for Jason Garrity, second place to Richie Worrell, third spot Kyle Howarth, no points for Chris Harris, no points for Craig Cook, only 1 point for Scott Nicholls. So who does win the 2016 British final? Jason Garrity certainly feels he's got a shot here tonight after his recent form in both Elite and Premier Leagues. He's off to a winning start here in Manchester, but I think it's going to be the kind of night where people take points off each other all through the evening, and certainly early on the inside gate is definitely the place to be. Garrity over Richie Worrell, third place Kyle Howarth, Chris Harris at the back. So on to Heat 5 with Chris Harris riding in red, Josh Bates in blue, Josh Orty in white, Scott Nicholls in yellow and black. So we've become used over the last 10 years or so to see every battle between Chris Harris and Scott Nicholls in this meeting has been a pretty crucial one. Very rare that they'll be going into their second rides with so few points between them. Harris off the inside here, so that could be an advantage. Nicholls could find himself really playing catch-up in this meeting if he can't make it from the outside here in Heat 5. He's got Josh Bates and Josh Orty, who both battled hard in their opening rides. Well, Orty got a win from his first outing, and Bates picked up a third spot. So let's see what they can make of Heat 5. Harris on the inside, Bates gate 2, Orty gate 3, Nicholls outside Heat 5, gets underway, and a better start that time by Scott Nicholls. Can he make it around Bates from the outside? It's Harris with the advantage. Nicholls going wide round turn 2. Nicholls gets round Harris, and Nicholls gets the advantage, having made gate 4 just about working. He's put himself in play in the opening stages. Got the better of Josh Bates, then went round Chris Harris, and Nicholls in. Heat Harris, Orty in third place, Jason Bates out the back. So much more encouraging for the Bellevue captain here. He has the pace at the moment to see off the commentary captain. It's Josh Orty in third, Josh Bates out the back, but Nichols here looking much more like his third lap. Orty beginning to bring in some ground here on Chris Harris on the third lap. Tell you what, Harris with no pace at all. Josh Orty looking to make his move here around the outside. Can he cut back off bend 4? Onto the last lap they go. Harris with no speed. Orty climbing on the inside. Harris trying to go back round him once again. He's done so. It's hardly convincing though. It's Nichols in front of Harris. Orty in third. Bates at the back, and Orty is crawling all over the back of Chris Harris here as they go round bends 3 and 4. Nichols wins by a mile. Harris gets home in second place. Orty in third. And the back, Josh Bates. And that's much more likely as far as Scott Nichols is concerned. Moves on to 4 points so far. It'll be a concerning second place for Chris Harris because he had no speed whatsoever to offer Scott Nichols. In fact, he had to work overtime to fend off Josh Orty, so it won't be a happy second place there for Chris Harris at all. Orty in third also moves on to 4 points, but Scott Nichols back in play with that win there from the outside gate in Heat 5. Heat 6 then featuring a couple of riders who have had very good starts to the meeting indeed, with Paul Stark riding in blue, winner first time out. Steve Worrell in white, also winner first time out. Richie Worrell looked quick in his open up. He picked up a second place in his first ride. He goes off the inside here in red. And Simon Stead with also a second place first time out. He goes in yellow and black off the outside. So the clash of the Worrell brothers here with Richie on the inside, Steve off gate 3. Steve will shoot up into a heat leader berth for Bellevue come the, well, he has done now officially as of today in the averages. So when Bellevue next go into action on Friday, he will be at heat leader for Bellevue with Scott Nichols second string and Richie Worrell at reserve. Such are the way the averages have worked out this season. And of course Bellevue have had to wait some time to do their 2 home 2 away for them to get some fresh averages for their draft riders. But Steve Worrell has been really banging points in and banging them in here at Bellevue, also from a 15-metre handicap. Twice he's come from the back after breaking the tapes and has got the job done from 15 metres. Of course, if he does damage the tapes tonight, can't go off 15 metres, there'll be a reserve, so he'll be advised not to do that here this evening, but he has certainly proved his pace around this circuit by being able to come from the back in those races where he has been handicapped. Taking their time to come into line here for Heat 6 with Richie Worrell, Paul Stark, Steve Worrell and Simon Stead. And they come into line now. So into the 6th race of the 2016 British final, the clash of the Worrells with Paul Stark in between, Simon Stead off the outside, and away they go. Richie Worrell makes a come to the inside, his brother down there with him. He's taking his brother wide. Richie Worrell takes Steve Worrell wide. Paul Stark dives through on the inside, so does Simon Stead. No favours there by Richie Worrell to Steve Worrell. It's Richie who's got the advantage. It's Stark in second. It's Steve Worrell in third with Stead moving down the inside. Steve Worrell going for a head on there at the back. That's really cost him. He tried to get around his brother off turn 2. It didn't work out, and now he's trying to regain third place here off Simon Stead. Worrell dives inside Stead. There's contact there up on bend 3. Very strong pass indeed by Steve Worrell. Simon Stead right to the back of Simon Stead. Way out of contention. Richie Worrell out in front. Second place is Paul Stark. Stead's way out of contention. He's picked up plenty of speed trying to regain ground here on Steve Worrell as he tries to come back in for third place. But 1 lap to go, and it's still Richie Worrell out in front. Second place is still with Paul Stark, and move on to 5 points. Both these two out front will move on to 5. Battle on for third with Stead trying to go back inside Steve Worrell. Steve Worrell's got that third place, I think, for now. To come off bend 4, it's a win for Richie Worrell. Second place, Paul Stark. Third place goes to Steve Worrell with Simon Stead out the back, and certainly a hard-working display there by Steve Worrell. Made a good start trying to get around his brother on turns 1 and 2. Actually, that forced him wide and took him behind both Stead and Stark. He managed to repass Stead with a very forceful move indeed around bends 3 and 4 to regain third place, but no stopping his brother Richie Worrell onto 5 points in the British final as Worrell wins Heat 6. So Heat 7, it is Richard Hall riding in red, Jason Garrity in blue, Ben Barker in white, Craig Cook in yellow and black. The draw is certainly not being kind to the Bellevue top 2, Nichols and Cook, giving them outside starts in their opening rides. We saw Scott Nichols retrieve a win from his last outing. That's put him really back in play after a tough start to the meeting with 4 points from 2 rides, but Craig Cook didn't score in his first ride, so he'll be keen to make a fast one from the outside here, up against Garrity, who won his first ride and is in blue. Hall didn't score first time out, nor did Barker, so you'd have to believe this should be a battle between Garrity and Cook off gates 2 and 4. And of course, anyone who makes a start from 1 or 3 certainly put themselves in the mix on the first bend. And we saw in the previous race, for example, Steve Worrell, lots of speed, but lost so much ground on the first lap and was only able to recover 3rd place halfway through the race. So Ben Barker being called up to tapes there in gate 3. Craig Cook going off the outside. Jason Garrity, gate 2. Richard Hall off the inside. Start Marshall walks away. Heat 7 gets underway. Another lightning start there by Garrity. Made a go off the outside. Cook going around the outside. The red lights are on from Mick Bates. The reds are on, and Garrity was creeping again there. So I'm pretty sure that unsatisfactory start has been caused by Garrity. He has already had a warning here tonight, and if the referee deems that was fairly blatant, it wasn't as blatant as the first one, then Garrity could be in trouble here. The 2-minute warning is back on. It is all 4 riders confirmed, so it wasn't as blatant in any way as the first movement at the start line, but he was definitely creeping there, Jason Garrity, and he's going to have to watch it a bit there because the referee has warned him once already. Restart then of Heat 7. Richard Hall riding in red, Jason Garrity in blue, Ben Barker in white, Craig Cook in yellow and black. Well, despite the movement there from Jason Garrity, it was fairly minuscule, but it was enough to cause the referee to pull it back. Craig Cook had appeared to have plenty of pace as he looked to move around the outside. It would have been interesting to see how that race had developed as it went on. We may get to see a repeat performance here, we'll see. But certainly Cook had clearly got in front of Barker into the first bend. Garrity with that slight jump had got clearly in front of Hall into the first bend. So they try again with Heat 7, waiting for Ben Barker, who of course crashed out of this meeting on the back straight at Wolverhampton in very frightening fashion last year, but thankfully full recovery made and very much back in business. As I mentioned, a recent switch in the Premier League from Glasgow to Ipswich, and taking his time here at the start line, Ben Barker off gate 3. So restart with Barker being called up to tapes. Restart of Heat 7, this time then away. Garrity charging away once again the gate. Garrity way out in front into the first bend. So what can Cook do as he tries to cut back from the inside? I have to say there was as much movement there from Garrity in that staging as there was in the initial staging. The Garrity leads from Cook. Cook trying to come through on the inside. Barker in third, hold on the back. Out in front here. He had race wins around this circuit, or battling paid wins I should say around this circuit for Coventry against Bellevue a month or so ago. He's riding mid-track. Cook is picking the inside. They start the third lap. Cook thinking about the inside. They go round turns 1 and 2. The clever ride by Craig Cook. He's edged inside Garrity. He's given Garrity a shove. He's moved Garrity over. Cook inside Garrity. Garrity back around the outside. Now he'll try and turn back with 1 lap to go. Craig Cook has worked his way through. He found the gap. He's pegging inside on turns 1 and 2 over Jason Garrity. And Cook has the advantage on Garrity. Barker in third, Hall at the back, best race so far of the meeting, and very much a much needed ride for Craig Cook to win Heat 7. Cook over Garrity. Third place goes to Ben Barker with Hall at the back. Fine ride by Craig Cook. That was, as we saw with Nichols previous time, much more like Craig Cook as far as he and Bellevue are concerned. Garrity, another explosive start from gate 2. Cook was some way behind on turns 1 and 2, reeled him in, pegged the inside on lap 3, passed him into bends 3 and 4, and Craig Cook beats Jason Garrity in Heat 7. So Heat 8 to complete 2 rides for all 16 competitors. Danny King riding in red, Richard Lawson goes in blue, Robert Lambert in white, and Kyle Howarth in yellow and black. 2 riders here with 2 points so far and 2 with 1. They're all on the scoreboard. Danny King off the inside gate. We have seen in this set of races wins from the outside for Scott Nichols and Craig Cook. Nichols basically put himself in play early on by making a reasonable start from the outside. Cook had to reel in and pass Garrity in Heat 7. That was the best race we've seen so far. And Danny King here going off the inside. Still important to make the most of the inside gate whenever you have it. Lawson, Lambert and Howarth are the opposition. Gate 3 has been notably unsuccessful so far, and that is where Robert Lambert is starting from. White helmet colour, gate 3 for the Kings Lynn and Newcastle rider. Lambert, as I mentioned, will be in the Under-21 World Final this weekend at Kings Lynn. Also received a nomination, a wild card for the Grand Prix qualifying semi-final. He'll be in Lonigo in early July. And as time goes on, you expect to see Lambert really rising to the very top of the sport. Here we go with heat number 8. Then Danny King goes off the inside. Lawson at gate 2, Lambert gate 3, Howard off the outside. Good start on the inside by King. Lambert trying to get past Lawson, couldn't really do so. Will now try and thread the needle, try and go in between. It's King in front now of Lambert. Lawson in third place, Howard out the back. Danny King with the advantage. Let's see if there's pace about Lambert now. Can he reel in Danny King? King leads from Lambert. Back on for Howarth at bay. Howarth trying the outside run around pens 1 and 2, but King appears to have plenty of pace as the race continues, leading Robert Lambert round turns 3 and 4. Danny King, a World Cup rider in the last few years for his thoughts after a tough start to the season. Danny King, things have begun to come good for him over the last month or so, and he is laying down a firm foundation for his meeting here, making the most of inside start here. Robert Lambert, third place, Richard Lawson with Carl Howarth out the back. So the Coventry man who was third last year, and of course also runs for Ipswich in the Premier League. Danny King is the winner of Heat 8 over Robert Lambert, who has 2 second places to his name so far. Third place, Richard Lawson, and no points for Carol Howarth. So Danny King off the inside, fast start. Robert Lambert quickly established himself in second place with a move to get the better of Richard Lawson, but he couldn't get near Danny King, the winner of Heat 8.
Come on, ladies and gentlemen, show your appreciation. Great riding for Danny King in an absolutely this evening here at the National Speedway Stadium.
So 4 riders on 5 points after 2 rides apiece. Richie Worrell, Jason Garrity, Danny King and Paul Stark all on 5. Scott Nichols, Steve Worrell, Josh Orty and Robert Lambert, they are on 4. No unbeaten riders after 2 rides apiece. Heat 9, Simon Stead rides in red, Carl Howarth in blue, Josh Bates in white and Richard Hall goes in yellow and black. So all of these 4 really looking to put themselves back into contention. Simon Stead with 2 points so far, Carl Howarth with just the 1, Josh Bates on 1 and Richard Hall yet to score at this stage. So I think Steady off the inside here will fancy his chances. We have seen quick times from race leaders so far. Not a huge amount of overtaking. The ride by Cook to get the better of Garrity was the best we've seen so far. Also Steve Worrell's pass on Simon Stead. A bit of rain's been floating around too as they get set for heat number 9. Green light comes on and away they go, and Stead makes over Howard into the 12th end. Here's Michelle Bates tries to turn back in the clash of the Sheffield riders, really tight to the back straight, but Bates gets dropped back into 3rd place, and it's Simon Stead out in front here in heat number 9. Stead made the start there from the inside gate. He leads from Bates in 3rd, Hall at the back, and that's how they are set as they got the back straight for the second time. Win here for Stead would take him on to 5 points from 3 rides. That's certainly going to be in contention. We'll need probably 4 or 5 more if he's going to make it into 3rd place. Bates is riding with a shoulder injury after a couple of recent crashes around Sheffield. He's under threat here from Hall to go into bench 3 and 4 for the 3rd time. Certainly no danger for Simon Stead. Well out in front. Meeting so far. Bates in 3rd, Hall at the back, but looks good for Simon Stead. Former Bellevue rider, finished on the rostrum back in 2006. Last time the meeting was held in Manchester, and Simon Stead does win heat 9 from Carl Howarth with Josh Bates in 3rd place. Yes, 10 years ago the British final stage at Kirkmansham Lane, and Scott Nichols won it from Joe Screen and Simon Stead. Well, Simon Stead still going strong 10 years later and winning heat number 9 ahead of in what was really a bit of an all-Sheffield clash there, because Hall, of course, did start the season as a Sheffield rider. Stead winning it from Howarth, Josh Bates in 3rd place. Heat 10 then, Robert Lambert riding in red off the inside, Josh Orty in blue off gate 2, Jason Garrity in white off gate 3, Steve Worrell in yellow and black off the outside. Could be an interesting clash here. Some of the top young guns in British Speedway on track, and Lambert and Garrity had a couple of real battles at Sheffield last Thursday in the Premier League. Garrity came out on top to score a maximum in the Sheffield Newcastle fixture, but Lambert here has the inside gate in this heat number 10, and Garrity, of course, one of the 4 riders sat with 5 points from their 2 rides so far. Steve Worrell has 4, Robert Lambert also on 4, and Josh Orty also on 4. They've all scored well so far. Something has to give here in heat 10. Halfway through the qualifying races, 3 rides will be completed by all the riders after heat 12, and remember, the top 2 go into the final, the next 4 into the semi. The winner of the meeting gets the wild card for the British Grand Prix, as long as that winner is not Chris Harris, in which case the runner-up gets the wild card, and there are also places unofficially up for grabs in the Great Britain World Cup team. I'm sure that Aaron Roster has to name his squad by about 10 days or so's time. He'll have his 10-man squad in mind. He might have the odd gap or 2 in his thinking for the actual 4-man team for the World Cup final here at the end of July. Here we go with heat 10, and Lambert off the inside makes the start ahead of Garrity. From the outside, Garrity chops off Steve Worrell. He has to go past Orty as well. Lambert in front, second place Garrity, third Orty. Worrell trying to go back around the outside of Orty in that race for third place. Orty's taking it really wide, very wide indeed. There is racing room there for Orty. Garrity hits Orty. How have they both stopped on? How on earth they stopped on there? Garrity got a real shock there. Worrell took advantage and went through. Now Garrity's trying to dive bomb once again, and Garrity just about stops on once more. And way out in front is Lambert. That was sensational shot by Orty. Orty got the outside run going. It gave Jason Garrity a massive shock, and somehow they stopped on, and Garrity went to the back because Worrell almost came through in the second place there, and Lambert is the length of a straight almost in front. There was so much fun to go on there for second, but qualified by Orty to get second. It's really caused Garrity a massive issue as into the meeting is concerned, as they come round bends 3 and 4 for the final time. Lambert miles out in front. Lambert wins it. Fantastic second place for Josh Orty, third for Worrell, and Jason Garrity out the back. Well, how did Orty and Garrity stop on there on lap 2? It was a brilliant ride by Orty to make it around the outside. It completely flummoxed Jason Garrity, who had no idea he was there, but Orty got round him. They somehow stayed on the bike. Worrell came through on the inside, but Orty regained that place. There was no way he's going to get near Robert Lambert. He was well clear of it all, but that was frantic stuff there on the second lap. It's a win for Robert Lambert, and quite some second place there for Josh Orty. Heat number 11, Richard Lawson rides in red, Scott Nicholls in blue, Craig Cook in white, Richie Worrell goes in yellow and black. So 3 current Bellevue riders on track here. And Lawson off the inside, who made the semis last year at Wolverhampton and was actually disqualified in the semi, locked up in front of Scott Nicholls, who went down. The conventional wisdom was the referee had made the right call to disqualify Richard Lawson. That wouldn't have stopped him from feeling he was somewhat unfortunate. Didn't help Nicholls in the rerun, because he came in third place and his chance was ended from there on. But Lawson going in red and really needing some points here. Richard Lawson just 2 so far with the inside gate. He's going to have to move himself on to 5 and hope for a bit of Bellevue battling outside him with Nicholls, Cook and Richie Worrell. It has to be said that Richie Worrell off the outside gate here has gone well so far with 5 points from 2 riders. Of course, Cook and Nicholls trying to regain points, regain positions after tough starts to the meeting. Certainly both looked quick enough in their second rides. So once we get to 3 rides complete, you begin to get the picture of who is challenging for a top 6 place. It certainly helps Cook, the fact that so many points were dropped early on across the entire field, but it is a case of playing catch up after finishing last in your first ride. So Lawson and Nicholls starting really tight to each other on gates 1 and 2. Cook off gate 3, Richie Worrell off the outside. Here we go with heat number 11, very short hold from the referee. Where they go, Lambert start by Craig Cook on gate 3, Lawson gives Nichols a shove round the outside, goes Richie Worrell. Lawson trying to go inside Craig Cook. Nichols trying to go inside Richie Worrell. Nichols gets inside Worrell into bench 3 and 4, takes him wide. Worrell keeps the outside going. We saw Orty make a move round the outside in the previous race. Coming off by Scott Nichols. He'll now switch back from the inside here. Richie Worrell, Nichols in that third spot. Can he catch Lawson though? Craig Cook out in front, looking much more like the pre-meeting favourite in his last couple of rides. He race leads and he's doing it from gate 3, which is not going to succeeded from so far tonight, and he looks well fast out in front. Craig Cook in front of Lawson, and Nichols not so fast this time in third. Richie Worrell at the back trying the inside run around bench 3 and 4, but Craig Cook out in front. Here's Lawson, third Nichols. Points being dropped again here by Scott Nichols, it would appear. Can he reel in Lawson on the final lap? Certainly making a go of it here. Scott Nichols round turns 3 and 4. Cook with the win. Nichols really wide round bench 3 and 4. Lawson, Nichols to finish. I think Lawson just about held on the second spot with Richie Worrell at the back. Craig Cook pumped up with that one, delighted to make that to 2 wins in his last 2 rides. Now right back on the board, Craig Cook battling on for second place between Lawson and Nichols. Nichols late burst around the outside, not quite enough, but Craig Cook putting himself right back in contention, and who knows, maybe if he wins his 4 rides, 12 points may be enough for a place in the final, with the points being dropped elsewhere. Craig Cook then winning heat number 11. Heat 12, and it's just 2 points so far for Chris Harris, who goes off the inside gate here in red. Danny King goes in blue. He's got 5, well placed so far. Paul Stark in white. Also a good start to the meeting for him with 5 points. And Ben Barker with 1 so far. He goes off the outside. Well, certainly after a poor first ride, Craig Cook has turned things round in his next 2 with 2 fast wins. So he could yet be the man to catch tonight, despite that tough start. Scott Nichols battling away up and down so far. He's on 5 points from 3 rides. So a couple of the riders here in this one are going to go back in front of Scott Nichols, or can Chris Harris join him on 5 if he can win from the inside gate? But you get the feeling that Harris will need to have changed something fairly fundamental after his first couple. Last place, first time out when conditions were quite heavy. But second time he picked up second place, but it wasn't a convincing second place. He was under threat throughout the entire race, and he is off the inside up against his Coventry teammate Danny King off gate 2. Paul Stark has gone so well so far off gate 3 in white, and Ben Barker goes off the outside. Heat 12 to complete 3 rides apiece, and where they go, and King's outgated Harris here. Harris and King neck and neck into the first bend, and King's gone round him. What a run round the outside by Barker, loses control when Danny King goes in front of Chris Harris. King over Harris then into the third bend for the first time, and Harris had the inside gate, but Danny King was out there with him and went round the outside around turn 2. Again, the pace of Chris Harris is lacking here. Paul Stark in third with Barker at the back. Barker was trying a brave bid round the outside on turns 1 and 2. Didn't really work out. Danny King wild card here for tonight's meeting. Of course, didn't ride in the semi-final in Germany. So it was the move was made to give him the wild card, which was definitely the fair move. And Danny King is really establishing himself as a contender here this evening. Came close to a track record in his previous ride. Challenging blow on him, and Chris Harris will be left with 4 points from 3 rides, and will certainly need at least 5 from his last 2 if he's going to go through. He lifts coming off Ben 4 as well. Danny King wins it. Second place Chris Harris, third Paul Stark, and the back Ben Barker. And Danny King is very much in play here tonight, a battling second place in his first ride, and has then reeled off 2 convincing wins. He got out the gate with Harris there from gates 1 and 2, and he had the fast line round the outside. Chris Harris is very angry as he heads back to the pits. He's stomping back in. The night so far is not going Chris Harris's way, but it's certainly good stuff so far for Danny King. 8 points from 3 rides. King is very much at the top of the leaderboard. So Danny King leads the British final after 3 rides apiece with 8 points. Robert Lambert on 7, Craig Cook, Josh Orty, Paul Stark all on 6, Richie Worrell, Jason Garrity, Simon Stead, Steve Worrell, Scott Nichols on 5, Chris Harris and Richard Lawson on 4. very open meeting indeed. Heat 13, Ben Barker in red, Robert Lambert in blue, Richie Worrell in white, and Josh Bates goes in yellow and black. We have steady drizzly rain coming down. It has been for the last 5-10 minutes or so, and it'll be interesting to see how the track does cope with that. Now it's been turned over with several races. It's had a huge amount of rain on it for the last few days, with the thunderstorm on Friday that forced the National League meeting to be called off, and more downpours over the weekend to get to a stage where the meeting started with dry conditions and no surface water. That was quite an achievement by the staff here and a good vindication of the drainage at the stadium, but hopefully we're not going to get too much more rain now, because the final is bubbling up here with Heat 13. Barker on the inside, Lambert second place so far in the standings, he's off gate 2, Richie Worrell gate 3, and Josh Bates off the outside. Lambert looked quick in his previous ride, won by a distance, albeit aided by a bit of battling behind him, or a lot of battling behind him, but what a story it would be if Lambert was going to take glory in the British final here tonight. Of course, didn't win the under-21 despite scoring a 15-point maximum in the qualifiers. Here we go then for Heat 13, and Lambert really nailed that one, but Lambert has the advantage, and Barker pegging the inside line. Around the outside goes Richie Worrell, trying to turn back now on Lambert, but Lambert still race leads, and that's Worrell going well wide off bends 3 and 4. Barker will try and come back into contention, making the back line with the back filled in now with the drizzle coming down. You need to make the start, and certainly Robert Lambert made that start from gate 2, and he is now stretching it here in Heat 13. One thing's for sure, Lambert's going to have a say here in the closing part of the meeting, because we're on to 9 points from 4 rides, only enough for a semi-final place. If he keeps on winning, he could go straight through to the final as of right. Lambert into bench 3 and 4 with just over a lap to go. Worrell consistent in second place, he's still in the meeting as well. Barker and Bates third and fourth. We're not going to go further than the qualifiers tonight, and Bates seems to have lost pace really as the meeting has gone on, but Robert Lambert round turns 3 and 4 looking very smooth and stylish, very assured on this circuit. Lambert winning Heat 13, second place holding on there. Worrell after a late challenge back by Ben Barker, no way through for the newly signed Ipswich rider, and that moves Richie Worrell onto 7 points, so he's certainly got a big shout here going into his final ride. But Robert Lambert is now on to 10 points from 4 rides. That's going to be enough for a top 6 in a semi-final, but it could well be enough if he can do well in his last ride for a place in the final. Heat 14, Steve Worrell goes in red, 5 points so far. Chris Harris in blue, crunch time for him, 4 points so far. Richard Lawson goes in white, he's also on 4, and Richard Hall, yet to score so far, goes in yellow and black. So I think if Harris has any chance here tonight, he's really going to have to get 3 points here. His last ride sees him face Cook and Lambert, so and he'll be starting outside them as well. So I think Harris here has to win this race if he's going to be in the top 6 come the end of Heat 20, unless some strange results happen in the final races. Steve Worrell goes off the inside, a renowned sharp gate up. Worrell off gate 1, Harris off gate 2, Lawson off gate 3, and Hall off the outside. And that steady rain coming down, few umbrellas out in the open parts of the stadium. Everyone hoping that the meeting is able to be continue through to a finale. The riders come into line, taking their time at the start line, and definitely pressure on Chris Harris here in blue to win Heat 14, to give himself a glimmer of hope. Only 4 points so far, same total as Richard Lawson, but if Worrell can win it from the inside, that'll give him 8, and he'd be quite well placed with 1 ride to go. So here we go with Heat 14, and Worrell's outgated Harris, and the fine start by Lawson. Harris got shoved in between, turns back to the inside, the two outside of him fighting away. Harris on the inside, it's passed around the outside by Richard Lawson, who takes the advantage over Harris. Harris going wide off bend 4, Harris in all kinds of trouble. Harris going to the back and will not make it 4. Tonight, Harris has gone from second to last. It's Lawson out in front, Worrell in second, Hall in third, and Harris out the back behind the rider who's yet to score so far. And if Harris is left with 4 points, there's no way back, and 5 won't be enough either. But a big battle on up front with Lawson in front of Steve Worrell, who's trying the inside inside run off bend 2. Can't make it through. Lawson here could be a shock winner in heat 14 over Steve Worrell. Harris trying to regain third place against Richard Hall, but it's just not working for Chris Harris at all here. 1 lap to go. Still Lawson out in front of Worrell. It's still Hall up for his first point of the evening to beat Chris Harris, who will not make it 4 British titles because they're only on 4 points from 4 rides. It's Lawson winning heat number 14. Lawson takes the flag. Second place is Worrell. Third is Hall. And that's game over as far as Chris Harris is concerned. Whatever has been on tonight hasn't worked out for him at all. He chopped back from the inside there after being sandwiched on turns 1 and 2. There was still nothing. Lawson went back round him. Harris wide on bends 3 and 4. There was still no speed, and it's a nightmare British final as far as Chris Harris is concerned. He will go no further, but Richard Lawson gets a win there to keep his hopes alive. He's on to 7, same score as second place Steve Worrell. Heat 15 features Kyle Howarth in red, needs a win here, 3 points so far. Craig Cook goes in blue, very much in play, 6 points after a first ride, last place. Paul Stark is in white, he's got 6 so far, and Josh Orty also with 6 at this stage, so riders in white and yellow, 6 points. Craig Cook with 6 points with his 2 race wins, and Kyle Howarth off the inside here needs some points to catch them up. Lambert is well placed with 10. Danny King is on 8 and has still got a ride to come. Very tough looking heat 16, it must be said though, against Nichols, Stead and Garrity. So any of these people on 6 at this stage are going to be hoisting themselves into contention with 1 ride to come. Heat 15 at the start line. Again, it's steady drizzle coming down, nothing torrential, and doesn't appear to have affected the track conditions too much in the last 3 or 4 heats whilst it has been raining. But certainly the night suffered by Chris Harris is perhaps the big headline so far, because you have to go back many years to the last time he wasn't a factor in a British final. In fact, last year was the first time in 10 years he hadn't made the final, so that really tells you the consistent run he's had in this competition. He won't be going any further tonight. Heat number 15, Howarth, Cook, Stark and Orty. Start Marshall walks away, green light comes on and Craig Cook really gets the start there on the start by Cook. Orty is sent out wide by Stark on bends 1 and 2. That allows Howarth to come through on the inside, but he's got no pace coming off bend 2. Orty goes round him into third place. Stark has taken a real handful round the outside. Paul Stark, he's now trying to turn back on Craig Cook. Paul Stark almost down the inside. Craig Cook just chopped his nose off there into bends 1 and 2. Orty in third, Howarth at the back, and Craig Cook looking for a hat-trick of wins here to move on to 9 points. And the multiple race wins could be a factor as far as Craig Cook is concerned. If there's a count back on making the final direct, he's got all those race wins in the back, that could be important. Battle on the second with Stark being chased by Orty, and Howarth at the back has not got the pace he would want in this evening. They start the last lap with Craig Cook starting in front. They can find him by Paul Stark, working in the mix for a place in the top 6 tonight. Orty in third, could be an important second place here for Stark over Orty with those 2 in the mix, but around turns 3 and 4 comes Craig Cook to make that 9 points from 12. It's 9 points from 9 since his first ride. Craig Cook winning heat 15. Another good ride by Paul Stark, who went really wide into bends 3 and 4 to build up some speed, trying to come down the inside of Cook into lap 2. Cook just chopped him off into the bend, and Cook raced off to win it. Second place, Paul Stark. Third, Josh Orty, who's still just about in contention. Kyle Howarth will now miss out, but Craig Cook on 9, and he is very much heading for the top 6 tonight. Rain now falling a bit harder as the riders come round for heat 16, and Craig Cook's winning time of 62 seconds in heat 15 was the slowest so far. Scott Nichols, Simon Stead, Danny King and Jason Garrity. Blimey, heat number 16 is a real toughie with Nichols on 5 points, but with the inside gate, that gate will work in his favour after the outside starts earlier on for Scott Nichols. Simon Stead 5 points so far. Danny King the meeting leader after 3 with 8, and Jason Garrity with 5 after that last place in his third ride when he was stunned by Josh Orty. And Garrity going off the outside here will need the start of his life up against 3 fairly heavy hitters inside him, Nichols, Stead and King, with the conditions ever so slightly worsening here at the National Speedway Stadium. and needing as many points as you can to be in the top 6 as high as you can come cut-off time. Here we go with a big heat number 16, and it's King making a good start from 3. Gets the bend in front. King has gone wide. Garrity missed out. Stake comes back. Danny King round the outside of Scott Nicholls here. Nicholls chops him off. Nicholls with the lead. King going wide on bench 3 and 4. Can King here make it round Scott Nicholls? That's a stunning ride by Danny King. Go round Scott Nicholls. King has the advantage. Second place is Scott Nicholls. Third, Simon Stead. And I'll tell you what, Danny King's on something pretty quick here tonight. He's gone round Scott Nicholls on turns 3 and 4. And King is looking good here for a place in the final if he can get the last race sorted out. But Nicholls certainly going back to the second place for Scott Nicholls. Isn't really enough for him. Nicholls needs to win here. He'll be left with 7. There's a crash in the back for Garrity. Garrity is down heavily on turn 2, and they're coming down to start the last lap. The red lights are on as they start the last lap. Now, what will the referee do, and how is Jason Garrity? First of all, Garrity losing it on turn 2. It's the end of his chase for the British Championship, that's for sure, because he's left with 5 points from 4 rides as the yellow light comes on. Well, certainly Scott Nicholls was close to Danny King, but there's only a lap to go when that race was stopped. It'll be interesting to see, especially with the need to push the meeting on, whether the race will be rerun. It will be rerun by Mick Bates. Well, that'll be very frustrating for Danny King, who pulled a blinder there to pass Scott Nicholls at the end of lap 1. Nicholls was certainly close to him. There wasn't any lap to go, and the rain's coming down ever heavier as Garrity gets to his feet after an awkward crash there on the second bend. He is left with 5 points from 4 rides after a promising start. Jason Garrity will not be becoming British champion here tonight, but fingers crossed he's okay as he makes his way off the circuit. So Garrity walking in, but there will be a rerun for Heat 16. As I say, frustration for Danny King because he had pulled a super ride there to lead Scott Nicholls. Three riders round to the start line for the restart of Heat 16. Scott Nicholls, Simon Stead and Danny King, and the riders have to be mindful of the need to be in front now at any stage in the meeting at the end of every block of 4 heats, bearing in mind the rain coming down. If it becomes a deluge, then of course we're at the stage where the meeting will be called at the end of any particular block of 4 heats. So Danny King here could be in the catbird seat, because if he wins this race, or indeed if he comes second, he'll be top of the leaderboard after 4 races. He'll be even if he comes second to Nicholls or Stead here, he'll have 10 points from 4 rides, same as Lambert, but he beat Lambert in an earlier race. So looking good for Danny King here. He'll be the one doing a rain dance, I would imagine, but he's got to get the job done here in Heat 16 first. And he was, of course, in front when Garrity came off some way behind on the 3rd lap. No question the referee had to stop the race, but King will be frustrated that it was not awarded. Nicholls gets an absolute flyer from the inside, and King will have to go around it once again on turns 1 and 2. He sent out much wider this time, and Nicholls pegs mid-track over King with Stead in 3rd, and King chops back for the inside. Well, it happens so often, the restart goes against the order that it was the first time. The first time King was out there with Nicholls, that enabled him to go level with him into bends 3 and 4 and round him off the 4th bend. But this time Scott Nicholls is stretching clear, and the Bellevue captains have a tough night so far with 5 points from 3 rides. Well, another win here will keep him in the battle. They start their 3rd lap in front of King. 3rd is Stead, and the rain continues to come down. This, as I say, will put King top of the scoreboard after 4 races with 10 points. He'll have a count-back advantage over Robert Lambert with Craig Cook on 9. Scott Nicholls on 8 is still there, still in with a chance of that historic 8th British title as the meeting continues and goes into its last round of races. Scott Nicholls around turns 3 and 4 with the lead and with the victory. It's Nicholls over King, 3rd place Simon Stead, and King will be frustrated after he was in front when the race was stopped with 1 lap to go. Nicholls takes his second chance with a faster start that time. King couldn't make it around the outside round turns 1 and 2, lost ground. Nicholls stretched clear, and Nicholls moves on to 8 points, but Danny King still very well placed here with 10.
Come on, let's hear it again. Let's hear the noise. We haven't got to sleep just yet. Scott Nicholls takes the take away.
So So Danny King and Robert Lambert both on 10 points from 4 rides. Craig Cook on 9, Scott Nichols and Paul Stark on 8, Richie Worrell, Josh Orty, Richard Lawson and Steve Worrell all on 7. Heat 17, Josh Bates rides in red, Richard Lawson goes in blue. It's Charles Wright in white, Paul Stark in yellow and black. Charles Wright in for Jason Garrity, who walked off the track after his spill in his previous ride, nursing an arm injury of some kind. That'll be a concern for both Coventry and Sheffield, and Garrity will not take his final ride. Steady rain coming down, but the final block of races set to take place, and really the interest here surrounds Lawson on 7 points in blue, could make it through, and Stark off the outside in yellow and black on 8, and he certainly has a good chance of making it through as long as he can score here. Tough for Charles Wright off gate 3 to come straight into the meeting. Here we go with 17, and it's a good start by Lawson, getting ahead of Bates. Wright did make a good start, taking Paul Stark wide, and Paul Stark could be in trouble here. He's going past 1, he's going past 2. That's a fine ride by Paul Stark. He wasn't in a real spot there on turns 1 and 2, and in fact now he's trying to pass Lawson for the lead. It's Lawson in front of Stark. Charles Wright over Josh Bates. Wright certainly getting himself into the mix, despite only having his first ride of the meeting here, replacing Jason Garrity. But Lawson and Stark, if it stays this way, they'll both be on 10 after their 5 qualifying rides. Bates is still battling for third place here. For Lawson, made the start off gate 2 ahead of Bates and fended off the challenge on turns 1 and 2. Strong move by Paul Stark off the second bend to make it past 2 rivals into second place. But Charles Wright coming back hard, trying to get at Paul Stark as they start with Lawson out in front. They become more a factor as the meeting has gone on, and certainly could well find himself in the semi-final from here. Paul Stark in second place, Charles Wright in third, Josh Bates out the back. It's a good ride by Lawson to win heat 17. Lawson over Stark. Third place is Charles Wright, Josh Bates out the back. So looking good there for Lawson, because Lawson's win there in heat 17 puts him on to 10 points for the meeting. He's really come on strong after only scoring 2 points from his first couple of outings, but he and Stark are both on 10. Lawson is above Stark on countback, having just beaten him there, so you can pretty much mark Lawson in, I would think, for a semi-final place, unless something really goes against him in the final races. Heat 18, Scott Nichols rides in red, Steve Worrell in blue, Ben Barker in white, Kyle Howarth in yellow and black. So with respect to the guys in white and yellow, I think Nichols and Worrell will be happy enough with who they're facing here. Nichols on 8 points from 4 rides, Steve Worrell with 7 from 4 rides. It may well be that if Nichols beats Worrell here and moves on to 11, which will certainly take him through to the closing stages, 9 points may not be enough for Steve Worrell with only 1 race win. I think Worrell here, who goes off gate 2, probably needs a win here, the way the scores are shaping up, because there's so many more riders to come who are on 7 in their with their last rides to come that could easily overhaul them. Second place might be enough for Worrell here, but certainly no guarantees of that. Barker has only scored 2 points so far, Howarth has only scored 3, so you have to look at the 2 off red and blue to be looking to carry on here. And Nichols has battled himself into contention here without ever looking like he's been dominating the meeting. We've seen British finals in years gone by. Several years ago, Scott Nichols, the absolute dominant force. Well, that's not the case here tonight, but having said that, still at the age of 38, a very competitive force indeed. And Nichols off the inside here with Steve Worrell going off gate 2. That's really the important stuff here in heat 18. It's Steve Worrell going out against Scott Nichols. An absolute fire to beat Nichols into the bend. This will really open things up now if Worrell can hold Nichols at bay. Worrell from Nichols, Howarth in third, Barker at the back. And a massive race here in heat 18. If Worrell can beat Nichols, well, they'll both join the party on 10 points, and that will lead to a mega comeback, it would appear, for the top 6 places. Nichols chasing hard, it's very hard to pass now with the rain continuing to come down. There'll be a big berm around the outside, and if Steve Worrell puts that bike in the right places, then Scott Nichols will find it hard to pass him. Trying a fast outside line. Worrell is mid-track. Howard's got the third over Barker, but it looks good here for Steve Worrell to move on to 10 points in heat 18. He's got 3 or 4 bike lengths over Scott Nichols as they start the last lap. It's Worrell from Nichols. It's still Howard in third over Barker, but Steve Worrell around turns 1 and 2 safely, and he may well continue in the meeting. He's now stretching clear. Nichols given up on this one. He's happy enough with second place and the 2 points to go with it, and that's a win there in Heat 18 for Stevie Worrell over Scott Nichols. Third place is Carol Howarth. Ben Barker at the back, and Worrell and Nichols both move on to 10 points with that race result. And Steve Worrell, well, the pressure was on off gate 2 against Scott Nichols, the 7-time champion, off the inside, and Steve Worrell came up trumps there in Heat 18 to move on to 10 points. As things stand, we have 6 riders on 10 points, although Danny King and Robert Lambert both have a ride to come. But Worrell is in front of Nichols on countback, and that could be important as far as gate choice is concerned. But who is going to miss out? Because with Craig Cook still to come, and he's on 9, somebody on 10 points here is going to miss out. It may well be Paul Stark who is the man to miss out on 10, but a last place from either King or Lambert could be disastrous for them too. It's a massive comeback here in the British final, and there's 2 races to sort things out. Heat 19, Craig Cook goes in red. 9 points from 4 rides. Must score here though. Can't afford anything to go wrong. Robert Lambert goes in blue. 10 points so far. Looking to get himself well placed for the semi-final or beyond. Chris Harris in white. 4 points. His night is effectively over. Simon Stead with 6 also cannot make the semi-final. Craig Cook and Robert Lambert certainly can. They're off the inside 2 gates here in Heat 19. And Craig Cook, as I say, with 9, Robert Lambert with 10, and so a race win for Lambert certainly puts him into the final, and a race win for Cook leaves him well placed as well. Who will make it in Heat 19? Away they go. It's Lambert outgating Cook. Lambert show on the first bend, neck and neck on turns 1 and 2. Cook with the advantage. Lambert with speed round the outside. Cook has the lead. Lambert will try the inside run into bends 3 and 4. It's Cook who leads over Lambert. Harris in third place going round the outside of Simon Stead. The race all out front there. Away for third and fourth, with Harris going round Stead for that third spot. But really, the action is all out front in terms of the British final itself, and Craig Cook with a 4th victory on the cards here could be going through to the final depending on what happens around him. Still wheel to wheel for third and fourth, as they're actually in their battle, they're actually reeling in Lambert for second. I think Lambert's happy enough with that second place at 12 points from 5 rides. He will certainly be continuing, but Craig Cook starts his last lap. Real fierce battle on the early lap. Just got the drop early on, but Cook just eased him out. They were neck and neck in the early stages. Harris furiously trying to regain ground in third, but he won't make it past Lambert from there. It's a 4th straight win for Craig Cook in heat number 19. It's Cook over Lambert. It's Harris in third place. It's Stead at the back, and that is Cook and Lambert both onto 12 points, and Cook in front of Lambert on the countback with the 4 race wins and the fact he's beaten him. So Craig Cook is in the final tonight. Robert Lambert will have to wait and see what Danny King does in heat number 20, but Craig Cook, after finishing last in his first ride, is now through to the final. So we have Craig Cook in the final on 12 points. Danny King going off the outside in heat 20. He needs a second place. If Danny King gets second here, he will go into the final as well. There's a complication to this, and a fairly massive one. Josh Orty in red off the inside, Richie Worrell in blue off gate 2, both on 7 points so far. So a win for either takes them on to 10, and if that's the case, they could actually knock out Scott Nichols on the countback. So close is it, with all the riders on the 10-point mark as things stand. So Scott Nichols here will be desperate to see if he's keeping track of what's going on. He'll be desperate to see Danny King off the outside here get the advantage. That will not be easy, the way Richie Worrell is gating tonight, and when Worrell's hit the front he's looked pretty quick, and Orty and or Worrell could really spoil the party here in heat 20 for some others. I think that Paul Stark, despite scoring a very worthy 10 points here, is going to be disappointed. The only thing that can work out as far as Stark is concerned, if we get so many riders on the same total, the countback gets ever more complicated. You can't just go on who beats who, particularly if they've got the same number of race wins. Could even go into a situation where there's a match race to decide who gets the final place, which is the last thing we want in the weather conditions. But certainly there is the very much the prospect. There are race results here in heat 20 that could knock Scott Nichols out before the semi-final. Orty on the inside, Worrell gate 2, Hall gate 3, King off the outside who can make the final. It's not been a particularly good start there. Danny King place. It's Worrell going wide off bend 2. It's Orty on the inside. King trying to go between them. The way is blocked, but he's found a way through on the inside. They left the door open. Ortiz will keep it on round the outside here. Josh Orty with no fear whatsoever. He will keep it going. Danny King is there. Oh, my word, on the inside comes Richard Hall. Where's that come from? King's got the advantage. Hall has gone through on the inside. Orty lifts and Worrell at the back, and King goes to the front now, past Richard Hall, who's absolutely been nowhere all night and suddenly got involved there. Danny King has the advantage, and he will be the big leader going into the final. If he can win this race, it'll be an escape for Scott Nicholls. If Orty and Worrell run third and fourth behind, Hall's been a real spoiler in this heat 20. Well, red and blue certainly made the start there, but Danny King fighting his way around the outside after the inside was totally left away all the way into bends 3 and 4, and Orty and Worrell, who were on 7 points, they had the chance to make it into the semi-final, but they have not managed to step up in heat number 20. But Danny King is in the British final with that victory in heat number 20, and he'll be having first gate choice as well. Danny King wins it from Richard Hall, a real surprise package there, and Josh Orty and Richie Worrell will both be absolutely gutted with that, because they had the chance to go into the top 6. They could have knocked out Scott Nicholls as well. It didn't happen because Orty lifted on the back straight. King took his chance on the inside, then had to fend off that challenge from Richard Hall, who came down the inside going into the second lap. So Danny King on to 13 points, puts himself into the final. Hall second place, he's the real spoiler in that particular pack. Orty and Worrell, their meeting is over, and subject to official confirmation, that means that King and Cook are through to the final, and the semi-final will be Lambert, Lawson, Steve Worrell and Scott Nicholls. So we have the riders on track for the semi-final. Conditions ever worsening, and obviously gating ever more important. Robert Lambert off the inside gate in red. He had first pick for this race. He's taken that inside gate. Richard Lawson, who has steadily accumulated points as the night's gone on to make the semi-final for the second year running. He rides in blue. Scott Nicholls in white. Steve Worrell in yellow. And going to be hard from the outside in this one. Steve Worrell qualified in front of Scott Nicholls effectively on the 10-point mark. So Steve Worrell's elected for the outside, leaving Scott Nicholls with gate 3. Danny King and Craig Cook left waiting, and I'm pretty sure you'll see Danny King off the inside and Craig Cook off gate 2 in that final. So who will join them here at a rainy, damp mid-June evening here in Manchester? The National Championship has seen Chris Harris with high hopes, but not deliver any expectations whatsoever, only scoring 5 points. But Craig Cook, the pre-meeting favourite, still continuing on. Scott Nicholls, the 7-time champion, still in with a shot here of regaining his crown. Will we have a new winner on the board tonight? Robert Lambert, 18 years of age, on the inside, on the verge of a place in the British final race, because he's on that preferable inside gate. Lawson gate 2, Nicholls gate 3, and Steve Worrell off the outside. Here we go with the semi-final. Lambert makes a lovely start there. Nicholls gets squeezed down between Worrell and Lawson. Nicholls in real trouble here, has chopped straight for the inside. Lambert's got the advantage round the outside. Robert Lambert with the lead. Lawson in second place. Steve Worrell goes diving inside Lawson. Steve Worrell takes Lawson wide, takes him really wide off bend 4. Lawson keeps it going, and Lawson on the outside. Worrell on the inside. Worrell gets inside Lawson. Steve Worrell has passed Lawson into second place here. Lambert in front. Worrell in second place. Third place Lawson. Nicholls on the back. His challenge for that number 8 title could be over unless he can mount a sensational lap around the outside in ever worsening conditions. Nicholls trying to get around the outside here of Richard Lawson. He's giving everything to Scott Nicholls, but I don't think the conditions here will allow Scott Nicholls to make a challenging blow. Lawson going well wide off turns 3 and 4, but Steve Worrell still maintains now second place. Right out in front, away from it all, is Robert Lambert, the 18-year-old. He's going into the final, and as things stand, Steve Worrell will join him. He's got control of second place here over Richard Lawson. It's Lambert to win the semi-final. Lambert makes the final, as does Steve Worrell. Third place is Lawson. He misses out in the semi once again, as does Scott Nicholls. Same as last year, Lawson and Nicholls miss out in the semi-final, and Scott Nicholls will still have to wait for title number 8. Robert Lambert is through to the grand final, so it's Steve Worrell, and they will join Craig Cook and Danny King. Kim will have first gate choice, then Craig Cook, and that win for Lambert in the semi will give him third gate choice in the final. Gate choices have been made for the final. Danny King with first choice has gone for gate 2. Craig Cook therefore has taken gate 1. Robert Lambert, the winner of the semi-final, has gone off gate 3, and that's left Steve Worrell off gate 4. That was the position he took second place in the semi-final from. So I think Steve Worrell, with the choice of 2, will be happy enough with what he's been left with. Clearly Danny King, who had the first choice of gate here for this final, and sometimes that can be the hardest situation to have, didn't want to get clamped on the inside. He wants to make a decent start and get straight out into mid-track wide. Obviously scared that if he gets out with Cook, Cook would clamp him the other way, and he wouldn't be able to get out to whatever drive there is on the outside quickly enough. The biggest race, I would say, of the careers of all of these 4 riders. The chance to become British champion and a wildcard place for the British Grand Prix on the end of it as well, for whoever wins this race to become 2016 British champion. 2 Bellevue riders on home soil, Craig Cook on the inside, Steve Worrell on the outside. Danny King 3rd last year, Craig Cook 2nd last year, Robert Lambert his debut British final going off gate 3, and Steve Worrell going off the outside. Here we go with the final here at Bellevue. A bit of a jump there by Craig Cook. They go where the red straight on. Red lights are straight on from Mick Bates. Craig Cook did jump off the inside, and the referee Mick Bates not happy with that. Year after year we see the final stopped in the British final, quite often at Wolverhampton due to spectacular crashes. That was a clear unsatisfactory start. Craig Cook was the man moving off the inside, and Mick Bates was quick to slam on the red lights and will do it all over again. So the pits gate closes and we go again with the rerun of the final. Craig Cook off the inside, Danny King off gate 2, Robert Lambert off gate 3, Stevie Worrell off the outside in yellow and black. The British final 2016. Rain continuing, it's just got that little bit heavier, steadier drizzle from halfway through the meeting. Track has held up well, but gating and that decisions taken on the first bend, all important. I'm sure that's played a part in Danny King's mindset. He had first choice of gate, he's gone with gate 2, I think, to give him more options on the first bend, whatever situation he's left in, because he's given gate 1 to a renowned fast starter in Craig Cook, but Cook knows he has to make a big one here from the inside to fend off the speed that will be picked up by the riders outside him. Cook on the inside, King on gate 2, Lambert on gate 3, and Worrell off the outside. Restart of the final. Second time of asking, this time they're away, and this time Cook has to start over King. Lambert in third place, Worrell has come to the inside. King has got really wide. Loads of speed about Danny King. Cook has the advantage, but King building your speed round the outside. Danny King round the outside, round turns 3 and 4, all or nothing. Danny King round the boards. Danny King's got round everyone. Danny King has the advantage. Sensational first lap by Danny King. Can he hold it round turns 1 and 2? Yes, he can. King has the advantage. Cook in second place, Lambert in third, Worrell at the back and 2 laps to go with Danny King to ride that dirt line, ride the berm. Craig Cook in second place, third is Lambert, and the back is Worrell. King is piled up in front. He had a miserable start to the season, but he's really struck back in the last month or so, and that was a sensational first lap move by Danny King, who is so far out in front he can actually drop back here because Cook has given up on it. Cook will be second for a third straight season as long as King gets round safely. The Ipswich captain in the Premier League, the commentary heat leader in the Elite League, is on the back straight for the final time. He's miles out in front. He is round turns 3 and 4. It's Danny King's night at Bellevue. Danny King, British champion. Second place, Craig Cook. Third place, Robert Lambert. Richie Worrell at the back. Danny King is the 2016 British champion. He led the scorers going into the final. He's won the final with a fantastic ride. Craig Cook made the start from the inside. Danny King straight for the outside, round turns 1 and 2. Built the speed up. Round turns 3 and 4. He took the advantage. King went round Cook. Cook is runner-up for the third season running. Lambert makes the podium. But what about that? It's King Danny at Bellevue. Coventry and Ipswich fans will enjoy that one as Danny King becomes the 2016 British champion.
Here we come
So the presentation about to get underway here at the National Speedway Stadium, and fair credit to all the riders for their performances tonight in the worsening conditions. Robert Lambert gets his award for third place, and what a bright future that young lad has. A big weekend coming up in the World Under-21 final as well, and we'll be looking forward to seeing him developing on the world stage, and doubtless he will have several shots at this national title in the years to come. But it is third place on the night for Kings Lynn and Newcastle's Robert Lambert. Second once again, it's a third successive runners-up spot for Craig Cook, a very strong force throughout the meeting. That first ride last place could have proved costly in terms of final gate choice, but he was done by a super ride anyway in that final, with this man surging round the outside and just being cleaned off there by Mrs. Lambert as he gets ready to get onto the podium. It has been 10 years trying for Danny King, the Coventry and Newcastle man. He was on the rostrum last year in third place. He's on the rostrum in first place tonight, and you can see his absolute delight as he gets the trophy from John McGuinness. It is Danny King, the 2016 British Speedway champion.
We're here now with the new British champion, Danny King. Danny, the smile on your face just about sums up your evening, but how does it feel to hold that trophy?
It's unbelievable. At one point I thought I'd never get my hands on it, and I just don't want to let it go. It's just, I don't know, it's unreal. I'm just so pleased it was at this track tonight. It's probably the best track in the whole of the country, and it's a racer's track. I'm sure you see on tonight there's plenty of racing going on, and it just suits me, it just suits my style. And once I made the final, I knew I had as good a chance as any time, and I had to capitalise because I might not be in this position, in the future. So, and obviously that's what happened.
And you've mentioned previously that, in past years, Wolverhampton's not a track that necessarily suited you, but this one's always been tipped as something that was a bit of a leveller as far as the field was concerned. And we saw that tonight, I think, with all of the racing that we had. I mean, it must have been a tough meeting for you, nonetheless.
It was. As you say, there was riders getting beat left, right and centre, and it really opens it up. When you put riders on a track like this and you can race, it's not a case of who just makes the start. You get good speedway, good racing, and no disrespect to Wolverhampton, it's a fantastic racetrack, but you always get the same sort of riders that like the place, and they're always at the top at the end of the night. Whereas we've seen tonight, it's a bit of a leveller, as you said, and the racing was fantastic.
And the wildcard at Cardiff to boot, I mean, obviously that's a huge thing, but what would you say means more to you, holding that trophy or getting that number 16 race jacket?
Definitely holding the trophy. Wanted to be British champion since I was a kid, and to finally be able to say I am, it's just unreal, absolutely unreal.
How are you going to approach going into the Principality Stadium? Obviously, it's less than a month away now, and best riders in the world, not just in the country. I mean, is that going to be something that you'll be preparing a little bit differently for?
No, not at all. I've raced these guys week in, week out. Obviously, it's the Grand Prix, so it's the next level. But I've got nothing to lose. I'm just going to go there, soak up the atmosphere, enjoy it, and try and mix it up.
Many congratulations, Danny.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Well, what a fitting occasion to commemorate the first ever British Championship final at the new National Speedway Stadium. Some absolutely fantastic racing throughout, as you would expect, and as we have certainly become accustomed to in seasons since. The terrific effort from Danny King as well. No one could really argue with him taking the crown on that night. Topped the qualifying heat score chart, and then what an absolutely stunning ride in the final to blast around home favourite Craig Cook on the opening lap of the grand final. So we hope you thoroughly enjoyed reliving the 2016 British final here on our Monday Night Speedway broadcast. Looking ahead to next Monday, that is June the 29th, and we are back on our Facebook and YouTube channel from 7:30, and we are heading back to 2011, and it is an Elite League clash between the Coventry Bees and the Kings Lynn Stars. And this really was another fascinating contest, plenty of drama, a great contest, and like I say, some thrilling racing throughout from the Brandon Stadium as well. It was the home debut of the Russian rocket, Emil Sayfutdinov, and it turned out to be an eventful home debut for Emil as well. They also had Ty Woofington in as a guest, and for Kings Lynn, Kenneth Bier and Mads Corneliussen in particular were on fire that night. So don't miss that one. Coventry Bees versus the Kings Lynn Stars from 2011, next Monday, June the 29th. This coming Friday, it is British Speedway Quiz Night number 11, and you can join me from 8:30 on our Facebook and YouTube channels for that one. So do play along. And like we say, if you are unable to join us live for any of these Monday Night Speedway broadcasts or our British Speedway quiz nights, then you can find them on demand on our YouTube channel. And just one more plug for all of our social media content on Twitter at Speedway GB, on Facebook search Speedway GB, on Instagram we are at Official British Speedway, and the YouTube page is Speedway Great Britain. Like I say, plenty to catch up on, and obviously with tonight should have been the British final. We did over the weekend do some build-up to our virtual British final day with some exclusive interviews with the 3-time British champion Chris Harris and the 7 times champion Scott Nicholls. So if you haven't seen those, do head over to our YouTube channel and find them on there. Keep up to date with all the latest news on speedwaygb.co.uk as well throughout the week. And I'll catch you back this coming Friday for British Speedway Quiz Night number 11.